Guys, I have been so excited to do March. So excited because I racked up the books this month. A lot of them were novellas, so like realistically you could probably take like 5 or 6 numbers off. Let's see. Hold on. Let me just give you this number of books that I read, which I think my previous best month was 12. I believe that's what it was. 18. Actually, 17, because one does, I'm not counting. 17 books, 7 were novellas, so they range between, I think the smallest was 40, and then the most was like 120-ish, and then I had one reread, and one was like a 19-page extra scene that for some reason is counted as a book on Goodreads. I don't have all of them. A lot of them are on my Kindle. It was a heavy Kindle month, so this is all that I have, so like it doesn't look as impressive as it sounds. Okay, let's get started. The first 6 I read all in one day, and they were very short, and I knew in advance I wasn't gonna remember like them at all because it's the little novellas. So I wrote down little like blurbs of my thoughts on them. So I'm gonna just read my thoughts directly off my notes. So I read the Meet Cutes, the Improbable Meet Cutes, all 6 of those. Started on a high. I should have read them in opposite order and ended on a high. The first one set the bar and none of them could live up to the first one. But the first one was called The Exception to the Rule, and I gave it 5 stars. I don't know what was in that little teeny tiny book, but I think she put crack in that book. I needed that book in a full form. I needed a full 400 pages of this love story. My review was literally so cute, obsessed with the emails, and when they realized who the other was, I was literally giggling audibly when he talked to her as a TA. I couldn't get enough, and I want a whole story of them. So from what I can recall, even though I gave it 5 stars, what I can recall, they were like pen pal. Oh, I got it. Either she accidentally emailed him or he accidentally emailed her thinking they were a teacher. And so they were just like, oh, wrong email. Ended up being like a silly joke where they were like, oh, happy Valentine's Day, by the way. And then he was like, I just wanted to make sure you had a Valentine's. You at least got one or something like that. Something silly. And so then every year on Valentine's Day, they emailed each other, and it became a competition to who could email the other person first because they only had emails. They didn't even know their names. And it was so cute because you could tell that they like were looking forward to the email every year. And they like didn't want to cross boundaries and like email them like outside of Valentine's Day. They don't want to tell each other like personal details of where they went because they knew they grew up in the same town because of the emails. I don't know how the emails work, but so they didn't know where they went to school. It's like 7 years later or something. Like they've been doing this for a really long time. And now they're both in college, and they, without knowing it, run into each other, and he has figured it out, or she figured it out. One of them figured it out. He's like her TA, and oh my god, it's just so cute. The way they talk to each other is so cute. I think he's the one that figured it out because he like plays with her a little bit. Oh my god, I was just obsessed with it, and it somehow made me cry. Like I literally don't understand how it made me cry. Anyways, moving on from that masterpiece. I don't even know who wrote it. I need to like give credit to the authors. Of course, you know who read it? Who wrote it? Christina Lauren, my Love in Other Words duo. Of course they did. They don't let me down. Moving on. The next one was Worst Wingman Ever, and I gave that one a 3.75 out of 5, and I wrote, super cute story, the grandma part. See, I wouldn't have even known. I couldn't have even told you what the plot of this book was without this. Super cute story, the grandma part even made me emotional, and he was adorable, obsessed with the talking through notes thing and not knowing who the other person is, and when they meet, not realizing it's them, literally giggling. So it's kind of like the same idea where they were talking. She's a like nurse, like a takes care of old people nurse. I apologize. And so she ends up taking care of her grandma who's dying. First, I don't even remember how it starts, but she gets a note left in her car. Oh, it's by accident. Okay. This is going to keep happening where I'm going to give you a summary. It's going to be wrong, and I'm going to go back on it. The guy lives in the same place as the grandma or something. Honestly, doesn't matter. I'm moving on. He's writing a note for his brother to put into a girl's car. He puts it into this girl's car on accident, and so she writes back. So they're like writing notes to each other on her car, and they run into each other, and they don't even realize, and it's just very cute. It's like kind of the same idea, but not as cute as the first one. And that's Abby Jimenez. So the next one is Sally Thorne, and it's Rosie and the Dreamboat. This one was cute, I'm not gonna lie. I like this one a lot. Apparently less than the other one. I gave it a 3.5. But I said their banter was so good. It was so quick and funny and witty, and I couldn't put it down. I will say her writing was almost too quick sometimes. Like, I had to try and keep up. But I really liked their banter. Every once in a while it was cringy but obsessed. I do remember that. Sometimes they were talking and I was like, I don't know who's saying what or what the jokes are. Like, I couldn't even keep up with the jokes. But she and her sister go to a spa and they have like these new high tech, I don't even remember what they're called. They're real, like people you lay in the water in the complete darkness type of thing. And so they're new. She gets in and she's claustrophobic, but of course hers like breaks, so they have to call the fire department to get her out. And the one is really hot and he has to like stay with her, and they just like banter outside in this thing the whole time. It's very cute. And then they start to go downhill for me. They also start to like quickly, all of those were normal like pages. Now we drop into like 40-page romances, and I just like didn't really love it. The next one was Drop, Cover, and Hold On. Is that right? Yeah, by Jasmine. I'm not gonna say her last name. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it wrong. And I apparently had no notes for that. But I gave it a 2 out of 5. I do remember though, it was like a earthquake happened. She got stuck in a bakery with a guy that she thought was really rude, like the owner of the bakery. And all she did was say over and over and over again, like literally the first 20 pages of this book, she said like 50 times how she thinks he's rude and blah blah blah, basically. I don't understand how you can be repetitive in a 40-page novella, but she was repetitive. It's like, it could have been a 20-page novella. But then, of course, they, like, flirt, and he had a crush on her the whole time. That's why he was rude. He wasn't trying to be rude, but it just didn't really do it for me. The next one's With Any Luck by Ashley Posted. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5, and I said, honestly, the story was kind of confusing, but also too short for me to root for them, so eh. And this one had something to do, I'm not going to give you the correct plot. I can warn you there. It had something to do with this guy and girl who were enemies. They hated each other, but they were maid of honor and best man of their best friend's wedding. The bride and groom, or the bride goes missing, groom goes missing. Like, the bachelorette was the night before, like typical, and they go missing because they get super drunk and they have to like go find them together, and turns out they were never missing. Like, it was just kind of stupid. I didn't really like it. And then the last of the meet cutes was Royal Valentine. She gave it 2 out of 5, which I've come to realize I just don't like the royal princess vibe. Like, that doesn't do it for me. So like, she's a princess. She just wants to live a normal life. Poor girl, really. So she gets her assistant, who apparently looks just like her, to take her place, and she meets this cute guy in Rome or whatever. That's it. Oh, and like there's a twist at the end of this 20-page book. Okay, that's enough for the meet cutes. Really like them. If you are wanting something really quick and cute, you can read them. They're literally so easy to read. I read every single one of them like back to back to back to back in one sitting in my bed. Next, it was my first and only reread of the month, which I fully listened to on audiobook. I reread ACOWAR. Of course I did. I reread A Court of Mist and Fury last month. You knew it was coming. I listened to it because I recently have been driving back and forth to Charlotte and Columbia a lot more often. So I would just listen to this the entire time. And like all day at work, headphone in, listening to this. Like, the kids are trying to talk to me and I'm like, don't talk to me right now. We're at the high meeting. I just can't get enough of it. 6-star read. I find myself thinking about this series and these people every single day. I want to be in this story. I don't know what else there is to say other than I want to be a part of this life. And then I got into my finishing a series where I read Bad Blood. I finished the Natural series. This feels like absolutely forever ago. I cannot believe this was in March. March somehow was the longest month I've ever experienced in my life. I went through a whole book slump and still came out with the most books I've ever read. I was in a book slump for like 2 weeks, a week, 2 weeks, I feel like, and I still somehow have been reading like crazy in this month. I don't get it, but we're almost done. I need to like look up my reviews because I don't remember them, I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, I do know I listened to a lot of this on audiobook. The audiobook narrator talks for Dean in the most southern voice ever, and it really grinds my gears. But anyways, that's beside the point. Just the writing itself, I feel like we started really well, and we started just like these kids taking care of like true crime cases with like a couple twists in there. But I don't love the way this went. I don't love like the path we took to get to the end. I also feel like we built up this story, this one story around the main character that we spent 4 books chasing this idea, and then at the very end just said, nope, gave it to us in our hand, and then yanked it out of our grasp as quick as she could. And that upset me. Like, I just don't understand why we had to finish it that way. Wasn't my favorite finishing. I keep forgetting my ratings, but I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And then in the back is the novella 12, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5. I feel like it was like not really needed. I don't know. Like, I really liked hearing updates on where everyone was, because obviously in the books they're all 17, 18, and then now I think they were like 23 or 24. So I liked hearing where they all are now. Every few chapters it went back in time to the characters at 12 years old and like kind of why they are the way they are. But the whole plot of this book is there's a little girl on a ledge, and Cassie and whoever else has to go save her. So like we're dealing with a little 12-year-old on a ledge the whole time, while also like trying to figure out if there's some twists and turns in here. And like, we just didn't need a whole extra story. Like, I feel like we could have just gotten an epilogue of how they're doing now, and it would have been fine. Oh. Okay, this is where I get in some really good books. And this is where the readathon started. So if you haven't watched that, go watch that. 7 Year Slip. I knew there was hype. I was scared to go into it just because everyone loved it. Everyone was like giving it 5 stars. I was like, I don't even remember the last time I gave a romance a 5-star. Just straight, flat, standalone romance. 5-star. It was this book. I gave it a 5-star. I typically don't like books that are gonna fuel my desire to change my life. They just like kind of freak me out. Like, they give me the whole should I be doing this midlife crisis type of vibe, which like is in this book, definitely, because they talk about her job and like what she should really be doing and stuff. But I loved it. I loved the romance. I loved the guy. I loved how it wasn't like super, what's the word? It wasn't like super magical. Like, if you don't know, the basic plot is she inherits an apartment from her aunt who just recently died, and the aunt had always told her that the apartment jumps in time randomly to 7 years in the past. So she was like, sure, okay, and then it does it for her. And so she comes into her apartment and there's a boy in there. I think he's like 24 and she's like 31 or something. So of course she like freaks out, and then she like kind of figures out that this is what her aunt was talking about. So they hit it off. It's adorable. I'm sure you can call it insta love. I like insta love. So if you don't like insta love, then you're not gonna like this book. Just like the frustration of going back and forth in time. But it also didn't confuse me. A lot of like time travel confuses the hell out of me, and this did not confuse me at all. So easy to read. I cried over the aunt. I cried over his like family, and I ate this up. Every single part of it I ate up. I thought it was adorable. I thought the banter was cute. He was cute. It was a chef. Like, please. And then my first, not even anywhere close to my first Kindle book. Anyways, then I read Ward D by Frida McFadden on my Kindle. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. This girl is a doctor? I literally don't remember what she is. I guess she's a doctor, yeah. And she's just like making her rounds in all the different places that she has to do, as one does in a school. I don't know. She has to spend the night in a ward, like a psych ward, and so things go to shit, and it's like there's a very dangerous guy in there. Whole bunch of twists towards the end. Literally at one point was spooked because like all the lights go out, and now I'm just spooked reading it. Literally the quickest read ever. Obviously I read it during the readathon, so I read it in one sitting. Didn't have a problem. Didn't have to put it down ever. 4 out of 5. It was definitely one of the better Frida McFadden books that I've read. And then I started Throne of Glass, but I started on Assassin's Blade. I gave it a 4.25. I don't know what I was expecting because I went into this completely blind. I did not want to know a single thing about Throne of Glass. Really enjoyed her backstory. I'm not gonna like say too much, especially because like I don't know what order people read these in. I do think that you should read Assassin's Blade first. Like, without a doubt, you should read this first. It builds up her whole character. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't read this first. It also, if I hadn't read this first, the ending would not have hit as hard as it did. I understand her as like a human and like where her mind comes from and like everything she had to go through. Stinky's trying to get in. Just kidding, it was Luna. I think my favorite part was the assassin in the desert, when she went to the desert. You have to read it first. It just like, now I'm ready to go into Throne of Glass because Throne of Glass picks up like a year later. I'm ready to go into that, loving her already. Okay, and then I had book club, Love Redesigned. This was a mega anticipated read for me. Like, there's so much hair. Like cat hair and fuzz. I was so excited for this book. This is my first Lauren Asher book. I have not read the Dreamland Billionaires stories yet. Gave it a 4 out of 5. And I don't remember my thoughts. I thought my thoughts were on my computer. I'm just bad at remembering things, that's it. I thought that the banter was really good, I'll say that. When I knew nothing about this book, everyone was saying like how the smut was crazy, and it's like, it goes so hard. Didn't go as hard as like I thought it was going to. Now Sticky's trying to get in. Okay, back to the smut. Like, don't get me wrong, Julian's so hot. Like, so hot. I just feel like she was writing the sex scenes and then was like, let me stop there. Cut us off in half. Like, I feel like they were never done. Or like she sped through them. I don't know. But could have been better. Don't hit my camera. Anyways, could have been better. That being said, Julian's so hot. I didn't love like her as much as I did Julian. Also, like, it's super unfair that she gets to just like be obsessed with a billionaire. I want a billionaire boyfriend. Like, that pisses me off. I liked the home renovation aspect of this book and him just like buying houses willy-nilly because he's a billionaire. So like, overall a good read, just like wasn't my absolute favorite in the whole world. It wasn't the 5 out of 5 for me. Then I read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton before the series comes out, the season of Colin and Penelope come out. It definitely wasn't my favorite Bridgerton, but like I kind of knew that going into it because Colin's not my favorite and neither is Penelope. So like I was excited to see how their love was gonna unfold, and it just was like really anticlimactic to me. I ended up just giving it a 3 out of 5 because like I enjoyed being back in this world. I enjoyed getting glimpses of all the other Bridgertons because like Daphne and all of them are in this, and Anthony. Their story just didn't really do it for me. Like, it was cute every once in a while, and like Colin's like cheekiness was cute. There was an element in here that I just didn't love. His personality. That's all for my physical books. But then I read The Teacher. I believe this is Frida's most recent book. Not what I was expecting. I kept hearing from people that it's gross, and in my head I took that as gory. Like uncomfortable gross. Like, I was rooting for the one main character the whole time. No, he gets bricked up out of nowhere and ruins the whole book. Not ruins the book. Like, I gave the book a 4 out of 5. I still actually really enjoyed the book. I just was like, the whole time. You don't know how it's gonna end, and you know, like, towards the end there's like another big twist where I thought someone was gonna be a ghost. Honestly, that would have made me audibly laugh, but it wasn't. It was just classic Frida. Like, you never know who to trust, and you're just going along for the ride. I mean, I feel like this one was guessable just because there were only so many options. Oh, I actually forgot. There's one at the very end, she puts in a twist, like with 2 pages. No, not even. Like on the last page, she puts in a twist where you're like, maybe we should have left that one out. It was just very questionable and kind of like goes against what this person was saying the entire book, but anyways, entertaining at best. Okay, and then I read The Fake Out, which is the second in the Vancouver Storm series. It's Behind the Net is the first one, which I read and like wasn't really obsessed with, and everyone had said that The Fake Out was better. So I was like, okay, I'll trust you. I read it in 12 hours. So good. That book is so good. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I had to stay up all night reading it. I had to finish it. It was so good. The banter, y'all, I love fake dating. Oh my god, I love fake dating. And Rory Miller is so hot. There's something about a cocky hockey player that just does it for me. He's so cocky, but then, like, you know, can be sensitive, can be shy in private. The sister to the girl in the first book, her name, oh my god, what's her name? Just read it. What's her name? Hazel is working for the same hockey team, and they just got a new trade. Rory, her old rival, like they've just been like flirty rivals, and they went to high school together, and she was his tutor. She had a boyfriend like the whole time who cheated on her and was like terrible. The boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, gets traded to the team, so they spark up a plan to fake date to make him jealous because he's like already treating her like terribly. And so the fake dating, y'all, this is some of the best fake dating I've ever read. It is so good. The banter, he's so smooth with it. There's one scene, they're like in a bar, he's got a backwards hat on. That's enough for me. The backwards hat is enough for me. And he like backs her up against the wall and puts his arm like above her head. I needed to be resuscitated. Anyways, 4.5 out of 5. Go read it. You don't even need to read Behind the Net. You don't. It's not worth it, and you don't even see them that much in the book anyway, so read The Fake Out. And then my last real book, which I ended on hey girl, it was Luna's birthday yesterday. Everyone tell Luna happy birthday. She's 5. She's the oldest in the clan. Muggs is next. It's in like 2 weeks. Anyways, I did read Better Than the Prom, which was like, I thought a continuation of Better Than the Movies, but it's just an extra scene from the prom in Better Than the Movies, and it was like 19 pages. It's on my Goodreads, so I put it as a book. I'm not counting it as a book because it was literally 19 pages, and like, it was cute. It was just like not that different from the book. So anyways, my last real book I ended on was another Frida book. I just was running through Frida this month. I don't know why. I feel like she's really good at getting me out of slumps because they're so quick and easy and like they're entertaining. So, but I read One by One, which is this group of like adults, like 30s, 40s. They have kids and everything. There's 6 of them. They're all like old college friends basically, and they go in their van to this inn like in the middle of the woods, and they get stopped in the forest. And then like one by one disappear, and they're like trying to figure out who's behind it and like what's going on, and they're all scared because there's like scary bear marks everywhere. I gave it a 3.5. Entertained the whole time, yes. I read it literally in under 12 hours again. So like still very entertained, very quick read. But all of Frida's books in my mind are the exact same book, just in a different setting. Kind of like, it's just, you never know who to trust. There's always going to be a twist, and it's always not what you think. So do I enjoy her books? Yes. Do I think there's ever going to be another 5 out of 5? No. I think if I read The Housemaid now, my thought is The Housemaid was my first Frida book. Stop it! So I wasn't used to the twist type of writing style because I'd never read like a thriller like that before. And so I think that it was like really exciting to me, and I was like, oh my god, she really got me. And so that is what made The Housemaid a 5 out of 5. And then it's like I read all of her others and I'm like, oh, they all do this. So these aren't all 5 out of 5s. You know? So like if I read The Housemaid now, would it be a 5? I don't know. Or like if I hadn't read it first, would it be a 5? You know? You get that vibe? Overall, it was a good book. I'm just like, they are constantly following kind of the same pattern. And like, it's never who you think it is. So that's all my books. That was a lot. And it was such a long month that like all these books are for some reason kind of mushy in my brain. The big ones are not as much, but all the smaller ones, mushy in my brain. But that's what Goodreads is for, because all my reviews are on Goodreads, so I know what I thought about them. But thanks for watching. I have exciting news coming up soon that I cannot wait to share. It's gonna be good news for the channel, good news for y'all, good news for me, good news for America. Anyways, thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next one.